What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. Guys, in today's video, we want to discuss the land issue. Land without compensation, land reform, the land, whatever you want to call it. That's what we want to discuss. That's what we want to discuss. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know I got a cold, right? Holla. People, I am not going to lie. The first time I heard that the ANC signed this bill into law about the land without compensation reform or something like that, I don't really clearly know what it's called, but yeah, I was excited. I was ecstatic because what came to my mind is like, oh wow, all those previously disadvantaged people who had their land taken, stolen from them, are finally going to get their land back. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Now, for me to be honest, the real issue is that I always think about the First Nation, right? Because I am a product of the First Nation, right? Descendant of the First Nation, right? So, this is our land. First and foremost, this is our land. So, no one can deny that, right? No one can deny that. So, firstly, the colonizers came and they robbed our ancestors of their land, stole it from them, taken it, took it by force, right? Okay, was the compensation there? No. Cool. Okay, independence came through. Then the ANC comes into play, into power. Did they do anything to reverse the stolen lands? Nothing. What did they do? They kept going ahead with that stolen land property. People, how heartbreaking is it that not only were you oppressed by the oppressor, now you're getting oppressed, or now you're being oppressed by the oppressed. I mean, people, let's be honest. I don't care if the economy falls. I couldn't give a damn if whoever doesn't like South Africa leaves. I couldn't care if you took all investment out and went and reinvested it in America or Israel or wherever the hell you think of going to invest. I couldn't care less. All I'm simply saying is, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, right? Now, this land belongs to the Khoi people, of which now even the black people don't want to acknowledge that, right? Now, this is not a race issue. This is not a political issue. This is a real life issue. The first nation, the Khoi and the San people, where are they being represented in this whole demographic? They don't have any representation in the parliament. They don't have any representation in any of the provincial structures. They don't have any representation in any of the municipalities. The Khoi and the San people are probably the most, if not one of the most marginalized communities in South Africa. And yet, this is their land. So, this video is aimed at two race groups in South Africa, the oppressed and the oppressed, who then became the oppressors and continue to drive the agenda of the oppressors. Now, it's sad to look at it in that way, right? Because you're going to say, oh, Brian, you're just trying to cause racial divide and you're trying to cause hatred among the races. No. Look at it like this. Okay, let's change something, right? Let's divert for a second, right? Let's talk about unfair, let's just say racial biases, right? Let's say we go back in the day and we were discriminated based on race, which was the truth, right? Which was, you couldn't get certain jobs, you couldn't do certain things based on race, right? How about we continue that same trajectory? I mean, why don't we just continue that? I mean, Since we already continue that in other departments and other fields, why don't we just keep on? Why don't we just keep pushing that whole no whites allowed here, no blacks allowed here, no colors allowed? Why don't we just keep pushing that narrative? Because what I'm saying, guys, is it's so hurtful and painful that there were people that didn't rely on jobs or companies because they had land, they were farming, they were the small scale farmers, they were self sustaining, and all that was taken away from them, and they were shipped off to Mitchell's Plain and Bonteville to these small little rocky, stony, sandy areas that they couldn't even plant anything. They then were forced not to go and get jobs. Now, what I'm simply saying is this government that we have is a useless government, right? Not only are they not only are they corrupt, not only are they chickens, not only are they so what word can I use? You see, the ANC, to be honest, is a party with no backbone. And the only time they show a backbone is like when they want to get rid of their own, you know? Dude, I can tell you now, the ANC in its heyday could have destroyed the DA to pieces. The ANC in its heyday could have eradicated racism. The ANC could have taken all the people that are in Sea Point, in Camps Bay, in Llandudno, in all those places, and transferred all of them to Mitchell's Plain and Kailicha, and then take all the people in Mitchell's Plain and Kailicha and put them all into those white places. Do you see what I'm saying? But they didn't. You know why? Because they're scared. They are so afraid. Guys, the ANC is backed by the military, which means they've got jets, tanks, this, and the other. The Afrikaans community, they don't have jets, they have nothing. They've got guns, yes, they've got bombs, yeah, maybe. AK-47s, they've got. What else do they have to their name? Nothing. For some reason, we have a government that is afraid of the Afrikaner community. So I let that sink in with you for a moment, and then you realize that our country cannot move forward in an equal manner because we have a government that is afraid of a certain community. But I digress from there. Let's get back to the subject at hand. So people, so the land issue. I was excited, thinking like, whoa, our grandparents and great grandparents are going to get their land back, land that was meant for us. We're going to get back because we lived in District 6 and they lived in District what. Not meant to be. No, it's aimed at specific people and no, 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 no. Anyone who can prove that they were forcefully removed from lands from which they were gaining a sustainable living from should be given free land again. If not in that same area, they should be given land in an equivalent area or next or nearby to that area or something equivalent. I don't care where, but they should be given land. That's the only way to do it. So, since the ANC can't do it, and they're not going to do it because the ANC works for the DA, it's surprising that the ANC and the DA are in cahoots with the same thing. Now, I understand the DA's way of doing things because they do things from a race point of view, right? Not that I'm against the DA, not that I support the ANC, I give DA props where props are due, They'll say like Cape Town is consistently voted the best run municipality in South Africa. There's props for the DA, right? There's props. ANC run areas are the worst. Man, the ANC should be flushed down the toilet. Ramaphosa is the ANC's last hope. After Ramaphosa, do you see any other leader capable of running the ANC? Do you? Like I said to you in the last video, they don't even have a youth league. The youth league has moved over to the EFF. The EFF is actually the ANC's youth league. See how many millions they've got? That's the entire ANC's youth league gone. They don't have a youth league now as we speak. They don't. They're trying to present themselves as if they have one, trying to piece. But no one's buying nothing from the ANC anymore. right? So the land issue, who's going to benefit from this? Well, it's a vague statement and it's nothing concrete, to be honest. It doesn't address you and me, so which means it's null and void, to be honest. It doesn't include us, the poor, the people that were directly affected because you were uprooted from land that was rightfully yours. Now today, you are being excluded from that. So what do we conclude in this whole notion that we have land that can be taken for good commercial reasons and you don't have to compensate anyone for it, but then it's not meant to help the poor or redress the poverty gap? So what's the point of having this land redistribution without compensation for? Is this topic not meant to be the first thing a government that gets into power does? Is that not the first thing they address? I mean, it's said that countries like, dude, I always have to go back to mentioning countries that had to wait until the party was on the deathbed for them to now try and scratch and reach for something just to pull out something, just so they can try and salvage something. South Africa has not learned its lessons, and I don't blame them, and I really don't blame them. They so hung up in their ways of getting money that they could not be bothered because they're not affected at the bottom, right? If you look at the political situation in Zimbabwe, you will realize that Robert Mugabe left that land issue to the very last minute for him to cling onto power. They are to now forcefully take land, which was to their detriment. It's been 30 years. South Africa still has not addressed the situation, or at least now they're trying to attempt to, but it's not the way that it's meant to be. You see, land without compensation, let's be honest, guys. As much as you want to say, oh, that was 30 years ago, that was 40 years ago, that was 50 years ago, that was 60 years ago. Cool. Am I suffering now because of 50 years ago? Yes. Are you benefiting now because of what happened 50 years ago? Yes. So how about you who's benefiting? Say, look here. Excuse me. We benefited from this deal. I will meet you halfway. You meet me halfway and see how we can both mutually benefit from this unduly benefited and unduly suffering. Halfway, half means halfway. But now you get people that have so much land that they don't even want to share a part of that land. They don't want to give anyone a part of that land. They want all of the land. So, this is my thing. Land appropriation without compensation should be done like this. One, go back to the archives. See where everyone was uprooted from. Get the names of those families. Bring them all the way back to wherever they were meant to be. Any new building and any new structure on that land that was stolen from them must be destroyed. Destroyed completely, and those people must be given back their land. Right? We do not care about development at this stage. We do not care about economics at this stage. We do not care about jobs. We don't care about nothing. We want the land back. Secondly, game farms need to be destroyed. We do not need game farms. Kruger National Park is as big as Israel. It's big enough for all the animals in South Africa. Right. Game farms need to be destroyed and eradicated. That is land that is needed for our people. Our people can utilize all those lands. Number three, any company utilizing more land than what is required for them to be using have no right to have such enormous pieces of land that is meant for our people. Last but not least, the Khoi and the San people must be given first preference. And I feel like the Northern Cape, to be fair and to be square, the Northern Cape should be given to the Khoi and the San. That is the least that this government can do. On a lighter note, and on a sadder note, and on a disgusting note, I always say this. Besides Botswana, because Botswana, they built their country from scratch. So therefore, they know what it is to look after every inch of their land. Every other country that inherited a well-functioning economy, a well uh, developed infrastructure, has crumbled because they didn't build it. They don't know what sweat went into it. They don't know. So the same as the ANC. They don't know what it's like to actually build infrastructure. They don't know what it's like to sweat and do that because they just inherited all of this stuff. Now look at it now. Roads are tearing up. This is because they didn't build it. Things are falling apart. Things are just so. Like I always say, people, let's stick to what we know, right? As black and colored people, let's stick to what we know. Drinking, dancing, having a nice time, going home, working, and not being involved in things that do not involve us, which we have no idea how they work, right? This thing of running countries, this thing of running businesses, this thing, it's not for us, right? It's not for us. So, those that are interested in these things, but fail to take the rest of us with them, you also don't deserve to be in leadership. So what's the point? We elect you to lead us. When it's time to lead us, you run away from us. You let us rot in the dungeons of suffering while you are flying. It doesn't make sense. So then I ask a question again. This land reform bill, who is it going to benefit exactly? If it's not the man on the ground, if it's not the poorest of the poor, if it's not the disenfranchised, then who is it for exactly? Why was it passed in the first place? Sad, right? Really sad. Next, we get into the pros. You know how we do. Holla. People. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, this cold has got me really bugging. But anyway, life got to continue, right? It's sad that very few people are going to benefit from this land reform without compensation bill, right? And it's a start in the right direction. It really is a start in the right direction. And it's sad that it's going to be excuse me. It's sad that it's going to be exclusively only really meant for commercial purposes and not residential purposes. I mean, yeah, I mean, uh, I guess it's government's way of attempting to address the situation. I'm assuming it's government's way of saying to the people, just wait and see. This is the start. Next, we're going to move into the residential phase. But I'm hoping and praying that whoever does benefit from this land from a commercial point of view will translate that into a residential point of view. So, yeah, with that being said, guys, there's not much positive things that we can take from this other than it might be a start in the right direction with the government attempting to address the situation. And for those who are going to benefit from it, hopefully it will be black owned businesses, black run family businesses, since they said it's going to be like on a commercial level. So we'll see what happens. That's the only thing I can think about. Next, we get into the cons. The negatives about this land issue. People, I don't know if it's meant to appease certain people. I don't know if it's meant to, I don't know, address a wider issue, but in small phases or in short bursts of, I don't know. But at some point, it's like the GNU are actually fighting over this thing because it feels like the DA feel like they were blindsided by the ANC, by the ANC signing this bill into law? How can you be a GNU and you don't even know what's going on around you? Then how is that a GNU? Shouldn't you be in ICU? So, negative things. Number one, if the politicians don't agree on this bill, who stands to benefit from it? Will it actually go through? Number two, if it's not going to benefit the poorest of the poor, the public who are directly affected um, by the Land Act of 1948. What was it called? Yeah. Then who's benefiting? That's my whole point. Who's benefiting? Big companies? Then who's benefiting? I mean, the whole point of government is to support the poor. It's to grow economies. It's to support the poor. If that's not what your government is doing, then you have no business being in government. So, like I say to you, in a nice way, in the best way possible, guys, to the ANC, go back to the drawing board, right? Back to the drawing board. Go back to the training camps in Angola, in Zambia, where else? Those are the two that I can remember. I don't know if they did anything in Mozambique. I'm not sure. Go back there. You were a better, you were a better resistance movement, freedom fighter than you are leaders. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, you've done. I don't even say you've done a lot because most of the things that were already built by the previous government. You just added on things. You didn't come and reinvent anything. You didn't. So resistance fighters, excuse me, freedom fighters coming to act like politicians, that's played out. So to the ANC, do us all a favor, get the hell out of Dodge, go back to the training camps of Angola, Zambia, start afresh. Start afresh. Come back with a fresh mind, come back with a new idea, come back with all this corruption-free mentality, come back with a plan that you know they can carry the country forward. Because now your bellies are full. Now you are fat cats. Now you're just looking out for yourselves and your families. Now you have just left the country to go down to the dogs. So the ANC, thank you for the land reform bill without compensation. But again, it's a little too late. You had 30 years to address this thing, starting from the poorest of the poor, and you did nothing about it. So now you're trying to grasp at straws to try and salvage some sort of reputation that you have left. Man, it's tired. People, let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla.